Hey guys, God bless, and welcome back to Biblical Studies. This episode is going to be a little bit different from my previous videos in this series because we're going to be talking about something very unknown in the Bible. What we're going to be discussing today is the Nephilim. If you don't know what the Nephilim is, it's cool because I don't either, friends. You see, the Nephilim are mentioned in only two Bible verses in the entire Bible, and we're not really given any indication about them, or at least not very much indication about them. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me read to you the first verse they appear in, which is located in the first book of the Bible, Genesis. So it states in Genesis chapter 6, verses 1 through 22, it says, "When man began to multiply upon the face of the land, and daughters were born to them, the sons of God saw that the daughters of man were attractive, and they took as their wives any they chose. Then the Lord said, My spirit shall not abide in man forever, for he is flesh. His days shall be 120 years. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterward, when the sons of God came in to the daughters of man, they bore children to them. These were the mighty men who were of old, the men of renown. The Lord saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every intention of the thoughts of his heart were only evil continually." They are mentioned the second time in the book of Numbers, chapter 13, verses 30 to 33. It reads, "But Caleb quieted the people before Moses and said, Let us go up at once and occupy it, for we are well able to overcome it. Then the men who had gone up with him said, We are not able to go up against the people, for they are stronger than we are. So they brought to the people of Israel a bad report of the land that they spied out, saying, The land through which we have gone to spy it out is a land that devours its inhabitants, and all the people that we saw in it are of great height. And there we saw the Nephilim, the sons of Anak, who came from the Nephilim. And we seemed to ourselves like grasshoppers, and so we seemed to them." Okay, so with these two Bible verses, we can kind of see who or what the Nephilim are. They could have been giants, as indicated in the book of Numbers, because of the Hebrew people describing themselves as grasshoppers before them. That is one thing I can indicate as a fact, but even then, very slightly. Okay, so you can see, as I stated earlier, I don't really know much about the Nephilim. And so you might be asking, why am I even doing a video on this topic? Well, faithful viewer, simple. I've gathered the four main theories on what the Nephilim are, and I'm going to be sharing with you all four of them. Some seem plausible to me, and others seem a little bit out there for my taste, but hey, they're just theories, my friends. Okay, with that said, let us begin with the first theory. The first theory is referred to as the fallen angels theory. And it states that the fallen angels came down to women at the time and began mating with them to produce half-breeds known as the Nephilim. The Nephilim look like average humans, but with incredible size, like up to 36 feet or so. The basis of this theory is that in the first Bible verse I read, it states that the sons of God saw the daughters of men were attractive, and they took them as wives. Angels in the Bible are referred to as the sons of God in a couple of verses throughout the Bible, so this led to this theory's creation. People often state that men are also referred to as the sons of God, and so this meaning can go both ways. Also, people question on why angels would do this, or even how would they be able to do this, since they are spiritual beings and have no sexual desires or romantic feelings as of that. Answers for these questions are that Satan decided to impregnate human females to mess up the bloodline of mankind to prevent the birth of the Messiah, also known as Jesus. He and his demons impregnated women similar to the way God impregnated the Virgin Mary. This theory is Well, this theory is the most interesting, I find, and the one that I heard many, many years ago. It was the first theory I ever heard about this. I believed it to be true for a long time, but even now I'm not really sure about it. I'm very conflicted about it. But still, I find it the most gripping, in all honesty. The Nephilim being half demon or angel and half human. But, you know, I guess I could explain why they're like pretty giant people. But oh well, that's just the first theory. Next, we're gonna move on to the second theory, which is called the possessed man theory. Alright, so the basis of this theory is basically the same as the first one, but instead of the Nephilim being half-breeds, they are instead 100% human. The theory is that demons possessed human men and forced them to mate with females to produce the Nephilim. This theory is one I don't personally really buy into. It has too many holes in it, in my opinion. First of all, demon possession can only happen if a demon is invited by a human to possess him or her. Demons can't just go around possessing people whenever they want to. So I'm not really buying into the sons of God would be possessed by demons and made to produce offspring. They wouldn't be the sons of God if demons could just get to them, you know? And plus, if this were the case, the Nephilim would still be born to this day, you know, because of demon-possessed people who produce offspring. All I can say is that there are no Nephilim of this day of age. Obviously, the Nephilim are gone, so this theory can't really hold up the possessed man theory. So, yeah. Moving on to the next theory, we got the Cephite theory. Okay, so in case you don't know what a Cephite is, let me give you a history lesson. It dates back to Adam and Eve, the first humans. Adam and Eve had two sons, Cain and Abel. Cain, out of jealousy, killed his brother Abel and went to produce children and have descendants who were evil and sinful and carnal and wicked. You know, he basically had all the bad people. And then Adam and Eve had a third son, whose name was Seth. And out of his line of descendants came the righteous, godly, holy, good people like Noah, Enoch, and so on. And his descendants were called the Sephites. The theory is that the Sephites began mingling with the descendants of Cain and took the daughters of Cain, as you would say, as their wives, and thus tainted their holiness with unholy, wicked women and people, thus producing the Nephilim. It can kind of make sense, since they would be called the children of God, or the sons of God, since they were good and holy and righteous people. And this theory, in all honesty, seems pretty plausible to me and can sort of make a lot of sense. So, you know, this one I like a lot. And so with that said, we're going to move on to the final theory, the fallen man theory. So this final theory is similar to the Cephite theory. It states that good, godly men took ungodly wives, and their descendants, referred to as the Nephilim, followed after the wickedness and sought after false gods and rejected the one true God. It's basically the Cephite theory, but on a larger scale, like, you know, as I stated, yeah, good godly people got with ungodly people, and then their descendants were referred to as the Nephilim. And again, my opinions on this theory are the same as the Cephite view. It makes sense with biblical canon and is pretty solid in terms of a theory. All in all, I want to throw in my little pitch. This is my little idea. The Nephilim might just be a term referring to a group of ungodly people who rejected God and live in wickedness and sin. Since the Nephilim are mentioned in the book of Genesis before the flood, then after the flood, everyone except Noah and his family survived. Then in a couple of books later in the Bible, which take place hundreds of years after the flood, they are mentioned again, like in the book of Numbers, during the time of Moses. So it is kind of confusing and very hard to wrap your mind around that, wait a minute, if all people except Noah and his family were wiped out, how the heck did the Nephilim, like, you know, how were they still around, or how did they have descendants? So, I don't know, it's just my little theory that it just might be a term used for ungodly people. But that's really all I can really say about it. And yeah, guys, that's kind of it for today. You know, I hope this theory or these theories kind of entertained you. because we may never truly know what the Nephilim were until we reunite with the Lord Jesus in heaven and he'll explain it to us. But these are just the theories for now, and, I hope you learned something useful or interesting from this video. Please feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and, that's kind of it, guys. Have a blessed rest of your day, guys, and goodbye.